The party has started. There's fireworks. It's a celebration. Yeah, Joe's getting into it. Not Sleepy Joe, that's Joe Plummerson in the middle, and on the opposite side to me, there's good old Omar X, and you join us on the very day that some great news from the United States of America. Donald Trump is gone, and it's all about Joe Biden. Let's have a listen.
Come on.
Come on.
That's premature.
It's a great day. It's a great. I know you're still clinging on. It for dear.
Well, no, I would say you're jumping the gun, really.
Yeah. Don't say gun on this show. You'll have them complaining. Peace. All that's from HK Stocks. Let's have a listen to what this CNN pundit said about today. What did he think?
It's easier to be a parent this morning.
Yeah.
It's easier to be a dad. It's easier to tell your kids character matters. It matters. Telling the truth matters. Being a good person matters. And it's easier for a whole lot of people. If you're a Muslim in this country, you don't have to worry if the president doesn't want you here. If you're an immigrant, you don't have to worry if the president's going to be happier to have babies snatched away or send dreamers back for no reason. It's just vindication for a lot of people who have really suffered. The I can't breathe. That wasn't just George Floyd. That was a lot of people that felt that they couldn't breathe. Every day you're waking up and you're getting these tweets and you just don't know, and you're going to the store and people who have been afraid to show their racism are getting nastier and nastier to you, and you're worried about your kids and you're worried about your sister. And can she just go to Walmart and get back into her car without somebody saying something to her? And you spend so much of your life energy just trying to hold it together. And this is a big deal.
Omar X, did Donald Trump make racism great again? Did he make it feel okay to be prejudiced in a way that it was not before?
There's always been racism under the covers, and I'm someone who's an optimistic, and I think that currently we don't have, as every party will agree, the same racism our parents had or our grandparents had. So we are at a different time. Donald Trump didn't really make it okay to be racist. I don't think he's a racist. He even looks kind of Asianish or Pakistani, a little bit Pakistani if you were to ask me.
Yeah.
Donald Trump.
I'm not sure. He looks a bit Pakistani. He has the same sort of skin color as mine.
What?
Well,
he has a similar skin color.
Are you talking about Obama?
No, Donald Trump has a similar skin color, I'm saying, to myself. And if we were to compare him to you and I think I would be closer to him. So I don't think it's a white-black thing. There are issues out there, and there's always been issues out there. And we just need to work and try to solve each one at a time. He didn't make it okay to be racist, I don't think. But he said inflammatory things. He said things that were incendiary, I think, because he wanted to get votes. And, it's a show. It's not just a life. It's a show. We're watching a show on TV. And he has said things. I mean, look at the KKK. When the man stood up in one of his conferences and said, hey, on his T-shirt, it stated KKK endorsed by Trump, or Trump endorses KKK, so something like that. Donald Trump didn't come out and say, look, what are you talking about? I want nothing to do with these people. He just let it go because he needed votes. And I think this is what politicians do. They just want votes, and sometimes they say things that may upset everyone, but we're all aware that they just want votes, if you are to ask me.
In the chat,
I think they need votes.
To say, one moment, loads of videos of people being turned away from the voting. Many told their vote wasn't valid. days after more votes than mail-in ballot requests, ballots thrown away, changed, or sent to the wrong place. Will Trump be willing to take it to the Supreme Court ruling to prove it? And the Dan Crusader is saying, as a religious American minority, I don't agree with that reporter at all. Okay, we don't know which minority you are a part of, the Dan Crusader, but that's interesting. You don't agree that Trump facilitated all this racism. But what were you going to say, Joe?
Well, it was just a minor nitpick, but politicians need votes, and some of them just want votes, but without votes, you can't accomplish anything, even if you do have higher ideals, and it's a distinction worth drawing.
But you only need the votes every 4 years. Donald Trump now doesn't need any more votes. He's got a month or so to do whatever he wants. What will he do? Set the house on fire?
That whole scenario is based on a loaded premise.
Okay. Which is what that he's lost.
Yeah, I mean, I only just saw the headline, but I think the Supreme Court already ordered Pennsylvania to at least separate out all of the votes that came in after Election Day. That's not just Trump is suing or whatever. I mean, that is the Supreme Court actually ordered that. And it seems like a preliminary thing based on the headline, which was that they just ordered them to separate them out. They didn't order them to discount them yet, but they want to preserve the possibility for that. And I mean, it seems like a loaded conversation that we're having based on how you're prompting it, because look, I don't follow all the elections that closely, but it seems like a quite untraditional thing, and a novel thing, an unusual thing for these states to demand like all of this time leeway to like see how it goes and make up their results or whatever. I mean, you know, if that's something that's been done regularly in the past, I might stand corrected, but I've gotten the impression that it's not, and we're just glossing over that, aren't we?
We are. HK Stocks is saying, I'm neither Biden nor Trump, but I just see some shady dealings going on. Okay, are we talking about the deep state at play here? Because Donald Trump is not their man?
Well, Donald Trump is not their man, but it's not just the deep state. I mean, it's a massive web and fabric of cause and effect of propaganda and funding and genuine allegiance. People who are just too dim-witted to see through it. And I don't know what it was that we were listening to about, you know, if you're Muslim or George Floyd or whatever. Was that this clip from CNN?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah,
I mean, save it, please. Like, you know, go, like, you know, kill yourself or something. Like, the hysteria is just ridiculous, and it's so disingenuous. That guy should be banned from the public air.
Is it? Don't black people in America have a genuine gripe? I'll let Omar X deal with this one.
Please.
Thank you. I think with what the gentleman on CNN was stating, it's difficult for me or us in this country in particular to discourage him from speaking out in a way, and for just to belittle his statements. He could be going through hell. And I know America is very different to the UK. Some people would say that in the UK, in comparison, we're pretty much, regarding the racism issue, I've never experienced racism and of that nature. I think the last major case that we have in this country was a one-off, and that was Stephen Lawrence, and I think that was back in 1993. A terrible thing. Perhaps Charles Jimenez is also a terrible thing, but the odd one out here and there. But the Americans out there, if a police officer can take down George Floyd and put his knee on the back of the neck of a human being whilst he screams for his deceased mum, then I think there's something that we don't know. That's racism to another level. Perhaps it's black man, and I think many black people are Muslims, and I think this is probably what he's speaking of, that they live in fear. They live in a world or in a country that for us to understand is impossible. But I can't really discourage him, nor can I really devalue his statements, because I think after what happened to George Floyd, I guess they fear that something like that can happen to any one of them.
Did you actually see the footage of George Floyd being suffocated?
Yes.
And the arrest that preceded it, or the attempted arrest and so on?
No, I didn't. I saw not the arrest, but I saw what took place, the aftermath, when the police officer had his knee on the back, on the neck of George Floyd. Now, I don't need to see what happened before that. I don't need to see that.
No,
I
but
don't
it's
care
relevant.
what happened. It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's completely irrelevant. The fact is,
it was not completely irrelevant. Do you know what was found in his bloodstream in the autopsy?
No.
Well, I mean, I saw both. I saw the "I can't breathe" bit, and all of the bystanders urging the officer to get off his neck, which was completely and it was insane. The American police are out of control now. You know, it's a different place, and anyone could be armed, and they have a dangerous job, and so on, and that's all, you know, fuzzy and complex. But there was no need for him to. There was no need for him to die. At the same time, if you look at the footage of him resisting arrest, behaving like a lunatic, and I think in the autopsy report he had you know, fentanyl and this and that and whatever else. I think he had COVID-19 as well, but you know, and he was he apparently and you look at how he was resisting arrest. I don't know. It was a bizarre case, and
what was his crime? Why was he arrested? Probably this is why he was resisting arrest. Perhaps he knew that this was going to happen. The end was near, and I think anyone would do that if they felt that. But what was his crime? That's what I want to know. What was his
high out of their mind?
Did he have a gun?
Was
he going to shoot the police officers?
It was a forged note, wasn't it? I believe.
A forged note.
Yeah, right.
So, so he had a forged note, and the punishment for that seems to be death.
No, there was no need for him to be suffocated, and the guy was totally pathetic, and there was no need. The car, in my opinion, should have taken his knee off the neck.
11 minutes for a forged note.
Yeah.
That's just the worst crime.
Law and order, Omar. Why won't you say it, Omar? Law and order. Why won't you say it? That's two words that Joe Biden couldn't say, apparently. Law and order, 3 words. In America, 2 years of school before you get your license, 5 months for police academy. Interesting. Years and 2 years for a haircutting license. I'm not sure if that's a dig at me or Omar, but okay. Look, I mean, I hate to say putting Black Lives Matter to one side, but okay, there's one.
No. Excuse me. Moving on from George Floyd, if I may.
Yes.
On it being on it being acceptable to be racist or whatever, or Islamophobic,
homophobic,
although whatever. But like, if anything, on the development of the norms in America, you have to remember Trump has been in office for the last 4 years, but the pushback from the entrenched establishment. Sorry,
we lost you for a moment. The pushback from the establishment.
The pushback against him from the establishment has been extremely intense and continuous for the last 4 years. And you know, in terms of freedom of speech, the amount of social justice nonsense policing online, on grassroots social media, in the workplace. You know, I mean, the liberals are still running society at every major company.
I don't agree with that in the workplace. How are liberals still at the helm if Trump has been in power? And I did note that, congratulations, Omar, the first non-binary Muslim person has been elected to not the Senate, but some level of local politics in America. And I just wanted to congratulate you on that. But so why and how has liberalism been so on top if you had Trump in charge for 4 years?
Well, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, like all of the everyone's like, you know, you meet even here, you know, you meet people in the street, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, what do you think of the election?" And I'm like, I'd rather not get into it. And people are like, "Yeah, but if you had to choose one,"
probably
and
why
I'm
we've
like,
done 3 live streams in a row about it.
yeah, but people are like, you know, no, there's no way you're Trump, right? It's impossible. And they didn't think it would be possible that he would win in 2016. And you know why it is because people are afraid. People are closeted. People, if they say anything, then they lose their jobs. They get cancel cultured. They get kicked out of their schools. They get kicked out of their jobs. They get kicked out of their companies. And it's the upper classes that you know are in charge of every societal institution that are, like, you know, Trump phobic. And that's how it was. So people came out of the woodwork and voted in 2016, and it was a shock, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, what the hell just happened?" Because they keep people in the closet with all of the bullying and the cancel culturing, and then they're like, "Oh, it took us by surprise." You know, what do you know? Like, everyone's not as out of touch as I am. So I think it's been less acceptable now. Anything that verges on whatever, like, oh, like you know, all right, this or that or whatever, it just gets suppressed. I mean, if anything, it's made it less acceptable, and I experienced that. I mean, you know, like, like, if you have little petty disputes in everyday life with, you know, black females or whatever, where they're being rude and obnoxious to you, and you make a polite request for them to, you know, whatever, oh, that's just you oppressing and marginalizing them as the straight white male. And
you can't say anything these days.
You get slammed out. What?
Yeah, you can't say anything.
You can't say anything. It's made it less acceptable to be not even racist, but, like, you know, possibly perceived as racist.
And Trump was obviously a backlash, a resistance to this perceived "you can't say anything" these days. In 2016, it was quite acceptable. It was the other way around.
Yeah, because after Trump won, it became it was the pushback from the deep state and the liberals.
No, but I mean his victory.
Made it less acceptable.
The people that voted for him were the people that were fed up with liberalism, were they? The white males that were fed up of being told that they're racist. But actually, the demographic that stopped supporting Trump the most, if you look at it by race and gender, is white males. White males have cost Trump this election. He gained votes from the black population, from the Latino population, and from females in general. He lost his original stomping ground, his home turf, the white male.
That toxic dude on CNN needs to like go, you know, die or something, because it's a waste of life.
Yeah. Well, in 2016, it was very acceptable to question the outcome of the election. Everyone was speculating that it was Russian interfering, Russian meddling, and you could say that, and you know, it was quite a legitimate argument to make. In 2020, people suggesting that there's been voter fraud, that this is some kind of a coup and corruption in the ballot box and the mailing, they're being censored. Twitter is censoring anyone that makes that argument. I even went on to Donald Trump's Twitter this evening to try and prepare for this show, and tweets from the President of the United States had been censored. There's not many historical events that you can speak about that get censored online, and Twitter is censoring people that are disputing the liberal narrative with what's happened in the 2020 election. But you could say the same thing about the 2016 election without any problem. Is this the evidence of this bias? And in the chat, HK Stocks is saying liberalism runs through the media and social media. Is that spelling it out clearly? I don't know. Someone else give me another argument. Omar X.
Well, what's interesting, and I think this is the most interesting thing that's happened in any election, is we have a man who does not need to rely on any of the deep state, I guess you can call them, and money from any donors or anything. He has his own money. He doesn't need to worry about anything as such. Now, does Donald Trump know something that we don't? That's the question. Does he know, hey, hold on a second, we were neck on neck at 213, and then all of a sudden I went to sleep and I woke up and we're 40 seats ahead. What's going on here? So does he know something that we don't? Regarding the mailing votes that you mentioned beforehand, now you said that the votes that are coming
we're getting an echo from you. Can you mute your sound at the other end momentarily?
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, but we're getting an awful echo from you. Not sure why. But you were talking. Go on. The mail votes. Go on.
The mailing, you mentioned that it was the votes that are coming in for Biden because he encouraged his supporters to do that. Just because Trump didn't encourage his supporters to do that doesn't mean that they didn't.
Joe, come back in. I'm going to remove you. Come back in.
Their votes. Can you hear me, sir?
I hear you better now. Joe, I think, was giving us the feedback. What were you saying about the mail-in votes?
Just because Trump didn't tell his supporters to send in the mailing votes, I'm sure there's a better term for them.
He instructed them not to, yeah, because of the interference.
Doesn't mean that they didn't send in their votes. Doesn't mean that the guy who was working the next day, doesn't mean that he didn't get his vote and say, look, I'm working next few days, some truckers or wherever they are, I'm just gonna send them by mail. And so I think it could have gone either way, and they were level at 213, and that jump is a questionable jump, because even now I think there's cases that are opened. Is it Georgia? There's a few states there that are recounting, and I mean, he's got to 273, so he's won. But can Donald Trump reverse a few seats? Can it go back to 260? Can this happen? And soon we shall see the way things are going.
We will see. The Dan Crusader saying, Steve Bannon says, heads on a pike, quote, permanently banned from Twitter. Kathy Griffin does another bloody photo of her holding up Trump's head, and nothing from Twitter. There would appear to be double standards. And it's very difficult for a person on the left who historically would have loved the Democrats to beat the Republicans to witness this and acknowledge it and say, well, look, this would appear to be at least inconsistent. Dan Crusader saying, I'm not backing either side here, just pointing out the hypocrisy. Yeah, I think we do have to point out the hypocrisy when we can.
Well, Donald Trump is held to a higher standard. It's not fair to say, hey, Julian put this message up and it's a terrible message, and no one's taken it down. And then as soon as Donald Trump puts something up, then that's taken down. That's unfair, because what Donald Trump, he yields or wields power that Julian, with all due respect, doesn't have. So there's a difference there. You have to be fair.
There's a difference, and we're getting agreement from Safes Clark. Yeah, absolutely. I've got to say, Joe, if you're watching online, if you click the link again, you can get back in. We would like to hear from you. Anyone else who's watching who would like to get involved, click the link in the description and you will join us. Oh, Omar's gone. Look, I'm on my own. So all the more reason to get involved. Any of you guys in the chat that want to join me here, click on the link, or even if it's just Joe and you want to get back on, you're very welcome. And we've got someone coming back. Joe's back in. Welcome back. And there's Triple T back on. We're back as we were. Sorry, we got rid of you because of a terrible echo, and we're getting it again, Joe. YouTube or your computer or something. You're not coming through clearly.
Still? How about now?
I think we're okay now. While you were gone, we were acknowledging the
I could hear it all.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, any points that you want to pick up there on the censorship, and how is it for people on the left who end up looking like or being accused of being Trump supporters because they acknowledge the hypocrisy? I've been watching George Galloway's Twitter today as well, and he is acknowledging that this is something of a coup, and he did make the point that because Joe Biden is the more establishment figure, he has been facilitated in all of this, and Trump is not great, but he's not establishment. Therefore, it was made difficult for him. How difficult would it have been for the likes of Bernie Sanders, who is again not establishment at all? But pause there because we've got a call. Who's this? Caller, you're live. Who's this?
It's PK.
Hello, PK. Welcome, mate. Are you celebrating or commiserating tonight?
I would say commiserating.
Okay. And why is that? Why are you sad to lose Donald Trump and not get 4 more years?
I wouldn't. I mean, in English, when Americans can do what Americans do. But I would say this: from what I've seen leading up to the election, the way that Joe Biden hasn't been doing press conferences and answering difficult questions, in fact, been avoiding questions, the way Trump has been doing his, let's call them shows. What do they call them in America when they go and do their...
Yeah, is it a rally? I guess you'd call it a rally, would you?
A rally, that's right, yeah. But, there's been a definite sway that Trump's been doing more. Joe Biden hasn't really been saying a lot. And
now, is that because the Trump types are not afraid of the virus? They call it the Chinese virus, and they think it's all fake news. And the liberals on the left are all cowering in their houses, socially distancing and covering their faces with masks.
Well,
is that part of it?
Then if that's the case, then perhaps one side of an argument is living in fear, and the other side of the argument is just living life.
Well, I mean, fear can save your life sometimes, PK. Our ancestors were afraid of lions because they can kill you.
Well, that be so, but statistically, if you want to go down this road, 99.9% chance of survival, is it?
Is that against a lion or against the virus?
Against the virus.
Yeah.
I think the lion has more of a chance.
Got more of a chance, possibly. Yeah, I think so.
I think the virus side, that's another subject, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is the election.
Yeah.
Election weekend.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's been the election night turned into the weekend.
I mean, apparently it hasn't been 100% called. Am I correct or incorrect in that? Because apparently the courts in some jurisdictions have allowed for some further counting? Or checking?
I think now the only challenge available would be a legal challenge, and if he wants to overturn it, he'll have to take it to court. But yes, that's not out of the question. Joe, that we spoke to earlier, will probably tell you, yes, that's very possible, very likely.
Well, how could Joe or his party or his minions claim victory if all the votes haven't been counted? Question.
It's a big question, and I remember when George W. Bush claimed victory, it did go to the court, and bless him, Al Gore just sort of accepted it. I remember watching, and that's an example of it going the other way. And if we're to be consistent, we have to call it out, whether it's our team or their team. And there are a lot of people on the left who find themselves standing with Donald Trump, surprisingly, because he's not the establishment. And this is where maybe we need to look beyond left and right and the rest of it.
It's really odd, isn't it? Because Donald Trump is not a politician, is he? He's a man that came into politics maybe on a whim, for whatever reasons and almost a bit of a joke, wasn't it, when he was originally running to be the president?
Yeah, we couldn't believe. It was a bit of a joke, I think. It's hard to cast your mind back and remember what it was actually like.
It was almost like he was. Oh, let's just throw him in there. Do you know what I mean? And then
wild card.
All of a sudden he won, and it's like the people that threw him in perhaps were like, "Oh fuck!" Pardon my French, Julian.
It's all right.
I didn't mean to swear.
It's all right.
But
Selection
like,
night.
oh my god.
Yeah.
What have we done? Why have we thrown this person in who shouldn't have won? Who's, it's like a big spanner in the works.
Yeah.
In the works of the machine, the political machine. And since he's got into power, the machine has been doing everything it can to get rid of him. I don't think the machine, whether the bureaucrats or the civil servants of America or the opposition, has given him the chance. I always thought America was a place where the president, even if he was on the opposite side to you, commanded a little bit more respect than our British Prime Minister got from the opposition. Because he was the president of the free world.
That's interesting.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he was never ever given that, was he?
And also, go on. No, I was going to say, in America, you've only got maximum 8 years. I know Donald Trump only got 4, but you've only got a maximum of 8. We had Thatcher for a very long time. How long was Tony Blair? Blair, I think it felt like at least 20 years. It was probably 10, but it could go on forever. In America, it can't go on forever, and that's sort of a reassuring thing. And 4 years ago, I was in a similar position when it was Hillary, establishment Hillary, wife of the former president Clinton, or this wild card Donald Trump. And I thought to myself, well, would you rather have 4 years of Trump or 8 years of Hillary Clinton? And guess what we got? On balance, I was saying at the time I think it's the devil you know, or the devil you don't. Well, the devil you know is not meant to be the good one, but Hillary was, the actual devil. You're not meant to vote for the actual devil. So I thought, if Trump is as anti-war as he says he is going to be, then why not give him a chance? Because Hillary Clinton had already promised to invade Syria and Iran. Go on, PK. I love your questions.
Yeah, since Trump has been in power over the last 4 years, has he invaded the country in the name of freedom?
He is the first president for a long time who hasn't started a new war. He continued a few of the wars that were already there.
Is continuing the same as starting?
It's not as bad. It's not as bad.
Has been passed by Congress
You have to, yeah.
You know, or the Senate or the House, which I'm not 100% sure how American politics works. But like in this country, if something has been passed by Parliament, then the duty of a government that comes in is to continue the resolutions that were set as a president before it came in. And Trump may have done that and pulled out certain regions, but he didn't go into anywhere enforcing this so-called American imperialism.
That's right. He didn't start any new wars.
You could argue he's done more than any other president since, you know, before him in recent years to do the opposite. In fact, apparently, I'm not 100% sure, but there's two places with Arab world and the Jewish world, the Islamic world, that there is now peace, or at least something's been signed. Whether or not they will hold true, now Trump has been ousted. I don't know. That would be an interesting question. What would you think? And I'll put this question to you and everyone else. Now Trump, let's say Trump's been ousted, the court thing is over, he's not going to win, and he walks away, and Biden, Harris is in. Do you think the war machine will get stronger, and within the next 6 months to a year, there'll be another conflict with Iran, perhaps North Korea or somebody, to a war machine?
Well,
so open-ended question there for everyone.
The script was revealed by General Wesley Clark, who said he'd been informed they were to invade 7 countries in 5 years. It hasn't happened as quickly as he was informed that it would happen, but the names on the list, Syria, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Lebanon, and even, I believe, Somalia is on the list, culminating with Iran.
Isn't Somalia, I know we're probably going off on a tangent here, but Somalia pirates on the water has a lot to do with the hijacking of oil tankers. And
it's a very lawless country. It's a very lawless country, is Somalia, on the Horn of Africa, and of course imports. Strategic. And next door to that, you've got Sudan, the biggest country in Africa, that split in 2 recently for some reason. Really? You've now got North Sudan and South Sudan, like Korea.
What's the differences between the North and the South? Is it religious or political?
They would try and tell you that it's religious or racial. There was a ethnic conflict where the so-called black people in the South were being subjugated by the Arab Sudanese in the North. But if you're not from Sudan, I think they all look pretty black to an outsider, if that's not offensive to say.
Julian, that could be considered racist by some.
It could be, but you know, there you go. I might as well be racist for a few more days until Trump is. Until Trump is gone. No, but the situation in Sudan, it's again people fighting a civil war that's being fueled by the outside powers, and it was the moment that Sudan decided to sell all its oil to China that suddenly it split into.
As opposed to who?
As opposed to America, I suppose, and this was during Obama's tenure. Yeah, and another one of those, if that country is going to trade with someone else, we need to split it in half. They need a little bit of freedom so we can have a loyal section. And South Sudan are loyal to America. China.
Now Joe Biden, let's say he is the president-elect, do you think relations with China will get better, or do you think jobs will keep continuing to come back to America and prosper the American workers in the Rust Belt and the poor places? Or do you think jobs will be exported again to America? And then, if so, do you think this will cause a rise, a surge in populism in America? And in fact, the election of Joe Biden, if Trump was to stand again, because there's nothing to say that he can't, if he was to stand again for re-election of president, might strengthen his hands.
That's a superb question. And I'm gonna.
Because if Joe Biden doesn't do what's right for the American people, now he's been voted in, possibly, I mean 90%, but that's just say for the second argument he is. And then poverty increases, the racial tensions increase, Antifa aren't satisfied, Black Lives Matter aren't satisfied. What do we think might happen? Is this? Oh my God! It's exciting times, isn't it?
Yes. May you be blessed to live in exciting times.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Is that Chinese saying? I'm not sure.
What do you think?
Oh man, it'll be interesting finding out. And Joe Biden, his name keeps getting repeated alongside China, and he's loyal to China. So
do you know the Hunter Biden story?
I am aware that his son was accused of something. Yeah, compromising videos on a laptop.
Yeah, I've seen the videos of him doing things.
Okay,
that,
without being too graphic, is he doing things that would be illegal or just sordid? Illegal, right?
Illegal in any westernized country.
Okay. Okay.
You know, taking drugs. Not that sleeping with hookers is
but
necessarily illegal. But
if that's his son, I mean, it's not him, is it? We can't. The father can't be.
I've seen the videos.
No, but of Joe Biden himself. Are you saying Joe Biden or Hunter Biden?
No, Hunter, his son.
His son. Okay, so I'm saying the sins of the father will be on the son. How are we blaming Joe Biden for something his young boy did?
His son's actions are separate than those of his father, but these videos come from the Chinese. I think in China they call it a honeypot, where you try to get somebody to do something, or you video them doing things which are illegal or dodgy or perceived as dodgy by the rest of society, and then you can use it as blackmail against, not just that individual, but obviously, if like in certain cultures, like the shame of the family, so they will kill a family member because of the shame that's brought upon them. Yeah. I'm not suggesting Joe Biden would kill his son Hunter, but the shame brought upon your family name, because your siblings, members of your family, have done things which are, risque.
To put it
not that I'm to judge.
Yeah, sure.
Another man, but why? The question is, apparently Joe Biden's family flew on Air Force One with not Air Force, Air Force One when Joe Biden was vice president, or Air Force Two, whatever they call it, to China. He's in China and Joe Biden's there on government-related issues, legal issues, no doubt. And his son's there, but his son's not employed by the government. So what's his son doing in China? And then these videos come out of him doing things in China perhaps he shouldn't be doing. Was those videos released prematurely? Because apparently he left a laptop in a shop, a bit like Gary Glitter left a laptop in a shop.
Wow. Same shop, maybe.
But
that was in Thailand.
These videos have come out, and it does seem that I've not heard anything about these videos on the British mainstream media, or seen it on the American mainstream media. Yeah, I've seen the videos myself from my own eyes.
You really had to dig to find that, huh?
Sorry?
You really had to dig deep to find it. It wasn't on BBC One at 6 p.m.
That's correct. Yeah, I had to go to a Chinese website to find where they're uploaded, but they're there.
Wow.
And it's definitely him. It's not a
deep fake.
Deep fake or anything like that. It's not.
Okay.
You can tell it's not.
All right.
Yeah. I've watched enough porn in my time to know it's
well, thanks for sharing that with us.
How's everything Red Bloody Mail has, Julian? Let's be honest about it.
Oh dear, you're a funny guy. At least it's past.
I've got to put a bit of humour into the conversation.
Yes, no, we appreciate you injecting that into the proceedings tonight. Thank you very much, PK.
So yeah, go on.
Go on. But final point before we might let someone else in. Go on.
Yeah, absolutely. Go on. No, you ask me a question, and then we'll end it in a couple of minutes. Yeah, go on.
So I was gonna say It was a comment. Forget the photos on the laptop. It was the emails in the laptop that tied Jim and Hunter Biden to doing shady deals in China. That's from the Dank Crusader. So it's emails as well.
Let's open this out. Let's open this. I'll go in a second.
Go on then, PK.
I don't want
to
talk
minute.
too much of your wonderful
That's
show.
all right.
Because I know other people have some very good and valid points to make. But let's put it out there to your other guests and all the other people who can type on the typing. Why is the mainstream media? I, as an observer, I don't see an equal amount of scrutinisation, whether you be on the left or the right. And I thought the media's job was to dig deep on corruption, no matter what side of the fence you sit on. And it seems to me that, the polls on this election were saying Biden, all these points more, but that wasn't the case, was it? I mean, the Blues lost seats, the Reds gained seats. There's something very sick in the way things are being reported. And I'll leave it there, Julian.
All right, PK.
That's an open-ended statement, an open-ended question.
All right, PK's leaving us with, there's something sick about the way it was reported. I think that's fair comment. PK, thank you so much, mate. Great to speak to you.
Julian, thank you very much for having me on the show again. It's always interesting listening to yourself and other people
Thank
speak.
you, bro.
I bid you
Appreciate
a good night. And
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. That's PK. Yeah, great to hear from PK. And if anyone else would like to get involved, the number is in the title. The Dank Crusader is pointing out that Jim is Joe's brother. All right, so we've got Joe Biden, Jim Biden, and is it the case that the sins of the father will be on the son, or is it just a family you can't trust? Got another call, and let's see who this is. Hello, caller. You're live on Lessons for Life.
It's me again.
Oh, hello, Joe. Sorry, mate. Your audio was really giving us problems on the live stream, but maybe we've got a better chance here. What are the points you'd like to make? Joe? Have we been derailed? We can't even hear from wide awake Joe Plummerson. Joe, if you're there.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, go ahead. We couldn't get through to you on the live stream. The audio was no good, but you can talk to us here and now.
I think on the terms of the son and the father, I mean, it is a disgrace. It's not only in some cultures, because the child is the reflection of the adult's upbringing and the values they've instilled into the child.
Okay.
And, if the child has resisted that and denounced all of that, then that would be one thing. But if they're colluding together to peddle influence and this and that, I mean, it's pretty. I think they're all pretty culpable, really.
Okay, fair enough. So you're saying the fact that it was the son on the laptop does implicate Joe Biden, and he is involved as well.
Yeah, and I haven't seen the other videos. I mean, we're talking about the emails. Now, as far as the videos go, if those are damning on Hunter, well, Hunter was presumably brought up by Joe. So, I mean, I think you should be ashamed of that.
Presumably. I just want to bring up, we were saying about journalism and what gets published and what doesn't. The greatest publisher is, of course, Julian Assange. Can you give me a little bit of detail about where you were today and what happened? Going off at a tangent, were you not in London today?
I don't know. I think I'd rather not, to be honest.
There you go. Censorship right to the core. Joe can't even tell us what happened today, but we will come back to the topic of Julian Assange, because it's another story that's been forgotten in all of this.
The other thing is about the way we keep going back to it's like the mind not having any form, just being like a wet noodle and collapsing, flopping about uncontrollably. As soon as it encounters a question that might reflect well on Trump, and you just go to, oh yeah, but it's like all moot, because imagine an alternate universe where we would have had Bernie Sanders, and well, that would have been nice, and then we wouldn't even have to confront these questions. Let's just look at why we don't have Bernie Sanders. I mean, part of the problem is that Bernie Sanders himself has shown himself to be susceptible to corruption. And he hasn't had this. I mean, it's the same way how Jeremy Corbyn lost his support by flip-flopping and being enticed too easily by the forces behind the scenes of the establishment. I don't remember the details of it, but look, Bernie Sanders was a two-faced traitor. He was an opportunist, and about the houses that he got after, to shush him up after 2016 and being crowded out, and he accepted that. He took that from behind very, obligingly, and I think that's a reflection of his character. Whereas Donald has been obstinate and defiant all along, and he's gained people's respect through that.
Wow. How can he gain any more respect than he's already got? Would he not be respected if he walked away quietly and just said, okay, should he really fight on?
I think that was exactly what lost. It didn't really lose Bernie Sanders that much respect, because it should have. People are too dumb to see through that, because they're just so obsessed with, finding a narrative through which to hate Trump. But Bernie Sanders has shown himself to be a spineless, feeble-minded opportunist, and Donald Trump, I guess, has wavered on some things or whatever, but no, I think the comment, the question that you just raised, shows yourself to be a bit out of touch. I mean, the massive popular support comes from people who respect, not flip-flopping. Like Corbyn flip-flopped on Brexit, and he couldn't even give a straight answer during the debates. And Boris just, stood his ground, and he said, no, we voted for Brexit, we're going to get Brexit. And you can say all kinds of things about Boris, and I think that's what won him the top job. And I don't see any way in which Trump would gain a net, a net gain in support and respect, and gain a net increase in respect from people by taking it on the chin and shaking Sleepy Joe's hand. And it would be incredibly dishonorable after all of the dirty games that have been played, not even just during the election, but leading up to it and all the last 4 years. I mean, it would be extremely cowardly of him to do that and to concede defeat.
Wow. What's the difference between popularity and respect? And which one does Donald Trump crave the most?
I think his popularity is rooted in people's respect for him.
Do you think so?
I don't see any difference in the terms at all, and I'm not really sure what you're getting at.
Well, someone who's desperate to be popular will become a people pleaser, would maybe step down, like I suggested. Someone who wants respect will say what they mean and mean what they say. We're having speculation in the chat now about Trump can try again in 2024, would not be the first time a sitting president lost an election, then won the next one. Who's done that? Which president has come back and regained the title? I can't think offhand. Or he could always send his son to do it, like George W. The Dan Crusader is pointing out that Trump would still be younger than Biden is today. Yeah, well, we've got, I think it's going to be Kamala Harris before long. I hate to say that in a sort of morbid way, but it's looking set up to be that way, isn't it?
You know, people are talking about Trump's fitness or unfitness to rule based on his background in business. I mean, let's talk about Sleepy Joe's senility, you know? Is a demented, like, you know, geriatric patient, like, to be president? I don't know.
I don't know, but Sleepy Joe has gained more votes than any president in history. He's the greatest, most popular president in history, Joe. Have you not seen the results?
Remains to be adjudicated on.
That does seem a little bit suspicious, doesn't it? Could he really gain more votes than any political candidate in history in America? Although I guess the population is growing. And Owen Keeling is saying QFS blockchain ballots, and the Dan Crusader is saying Harris most likely will. Kamala Harris will most likely be the president within 4 years. I'll have to get onto paddypower.com and see if they're running a book on it.
Apart from which, you know, like, I'm making all of these comments, which a lot of people might say are fairly strong. And adamant, but I haven't even kept up really with the nitty-gritty of what foul play there's been in the course of the process of the election itself. But I mean, let's do now and rewind a bit. It's been loaded and stacked from the beginning.
But isn't foul play just part of it? Like, foul play is part of it. George W. Bush stole the election in 2000. He stole it again in 2004. Obama won it legitimately, I'm sure, in 2008, but it wasn't long before we had some meddling again. The Russians influenced 2016, and the deep state have influenced 2020. But the difference is you can say all these things. You can even talk about George Bush stealing the election, and you can talk about the Russians, but you can't talk about the other side. And in the chat, Owen Keeling is saying, I will phone up to explain if you want. Right, Joe, can we free up the line? Because we're going to hear from Owen Keeling. All right, bud.
I'll just hang up.
See you on the next one. But you can join us on the live stream if you want to try again on the video call. All right, Joe. Yeah, give it a go. All right, so the line is free, Owen, if you want to get involved. 07491 751 203. We will hear a little bit of explanation, and we might get Joe Wide Awake, Joe Plummerson back on as well. You're watching Lessons for Life on the live stream on the election week, and we've got Joe back on. Yeah, your sound's not too bad now, maybe, Joe, but we're getting a little bit of feedback. If you can mute yourself, it would be good temporarily. At least 4 states on the 4th of November was all Trump winning, then all of a sudden Joe took it. And is that Owen? Hello, mate. Thanks for calling.
Hi, I can't hear you very well.
Okay, we can hear you. So go ahead, give us your explanation.
All right, so I want to start by saying that this is not my information.
Okay.
If you look hard enough, especially on Twitter, you will find it. So supposedly, a ex-member of the US military or Secret Service, I'm not sure exactly, has said that the election is actually a sting operation. And the reason why the count is taking so long is that blockchain voting procedures have been printed onto the ballots. And currently the military is counting those votes.
Now, what is this blockchain procedure that Explain that to me. What does that mean? I thought blockchain was a currency.
Similar to cryptocurrency
Right.
and Bitcoin, it's the same security. It's basically on one end, if something is altered to do with that particular item, the other end will not fit anymore. It's to do with the two ends of the chain not fitting.
Okay. Okay. HK Stocks is agreeing, is saying that I've seen a load of it. They've left dots on voting cards as part of the sting. Now, who has done this? Are we just going to call them the deep state?
No, so this is a basically sting to catch the voter fraud.
Oh, I see.
This has only been put on the legitimate
I see.
votes, essentially.
So would Trump be able to produce this as evidence in court and say, look, these ones are illegitimate?
Yes, this is what he's talking about when he says the legal votes compared to the fraudulent ones.
Oh, wow. Well, that is a superb cliffhanger, Owen. We're out of time tonight, but the blockchain technology leaving a mark on the notes, you think it could save Trump's presidency?
Like a holographic UV ink, I believe.
Wow.
Similar to banknotes.
Yeah. Well, that's incredible. Owen, thanks so much for getting involved, mate.
Yeah, nice to speak to you in real life.
Yeah, appreciate it. Save the number, drop me a message anytime. I'll probably tip you off with what topics we're doing. All right?
Peace and blessings to all.
Thank you so much. Nice one. Wow. All right. That's news to me. You know why I call it Lessons for Life, don't you? Blimey. That'll be interesting. I mean, it's funny that you've got to dig so deep on Twitter to find out these things. Dan Crusader saying mailing ballots caused the last-minute flip in most states. Don't think it's too nefarious. It would be nice if it's all true and gets out. Major game changer. Joe, we're out of time, my friend. Closing comments from you, if you like. I'm going to buy you a new microphone.
I just wish everybody, let's keep in mind that if Sleepy Joe does make it to the Oval Office, I think we'll see Syria bombed to smithereens. It's going to be very gruesome and ugly, and I don't think people realize the implications of what they're doing. They're just very hysterical and emotional and impulsively opposing Trump.
Well, Joe, you're a white male, so what would you know? Sorry, mate.
Yeah,
Thanks for joining me. It's been Lessons for Life, and we'll do it all again soon. We were here. We're gone. Latest.